Hey, thanks for joining us today. Today we're going over the Greater Phoenix Metro market statistics for the week ending June 1st. Let's get right into it. This past week, 78 days closed on market. A month's supply of 3.41. Average absorption rate was 29.37. 773,953 was the average list price this past week, and 606,517 was the average sale price. The list price sale price retention came in at 97.16. Active inventory, well, you might remember I told you this was going to happen if we continued to have a lot of buyers in the marketplace, and so it has. Inventory has been shrinking. Pending, so inventory is currently at 25,732. Pending is at 4,371, and closed units for last month that is not yet washed or cleaned or verified, or allowing the end of the month to take place, because today's the first, so it's a catch over for the weekend. 7,557, but that's above last year. Taking a look at new listings, 1,648 taken, significantly less, so there's a little bit of a cool down. Days on market for active is at 92, and for closed at 78. Lower left-hand side, we have the price ranges. This is month to date, so it is exactly seeing what is taking place with inventory. So this is not the close. That'll be when we do the month-end report, sometime the end of the week. But for the active inventory, anything in red meant there was a contraction. So every price segment had a reduction in their active inventory. So 66.06% is representative of the prices under 600,000 in the MLS. 600 to 1 million is at 19.61, and $1 million and up at 14.33. So here's how it all worked out. Again, this is that sheet that everybody gets to be the expert. Why? Well, because we can compare. When you do the first showing that you've ever done, you had nothing to compare it to. By the time you did 2, you now had 2. By the time you did 4, you had 4 to compare. 20 years later, you've got a lot to compare. And that's really where inventory knowledge comes from. But new listings, 1,648 new takings versus 2,100 the prior period. But 1,600 is still pretty close to where we were 2 years ago. Taking a look at the active inventory, it's at 25,732, down from 26,508. We had 26,700 last year, so we do have lesser inventory than we had last year. 505 of those are in the coming soon category. 19,389 single-family detached, 2,086 new home construction properties, and 25,221 of the entire MLS inventory is in the non-distressed category. Looking at pending, sitting at 4,371. There were 4,371 active pending files this morning. 4,709 the week before. So remember, we've been talking for the last 3-4 weeks about, well, actually a little longer than that now, about 8 weeks. We've been talking about there being about 500 more people in the marketplace than there was last year. This isn't that far off. If you look at 4,371, you look at last year's numbers are 4,032. So we're still 350 ahead. But when you start to see that number drop back down and settle in is when, inventory is going to start going up. Closed inventory, closed units totally 7,557 versus 7,085 last year. So if it all works out, I think we'll maybe come close to hitting 8,000 units for the month of May, but we'll see exactly what takes place. So a month's supply, if we're looking at the exact numbers that we just mentioned, we're at a 3.41 month supply. So again, indicative of being in a seller's market. But again, when we talk about markets, sellers markets, buyers markets, it doesn't mean it's one way. It just means that there's less inventory than there was, and so it's being consumed faster. And when it's being consumed faster, it's just less selection. And again, typically what happens in those markets is prices go up. Then eventually, if it gets too competitive, you get into the multiple offer scenario. The other way, when you're in the buyer's market, is everything's just stale. Those of us who went through the semi-Great Depression back in 2006 and 7, 8, 9, you remember the fact that there basically was no inventory, and people were paying. They were competing for those offers. It was crazy. So we are at 460 median sale price. We were at 470 the week before. We've been roughly about 450. So the market, the median sale price is just what's the middle number of what's closed this past week. So 460 was the soup du jour for the month, for this past week. But the numbers are 78 days. You can see a little bit of a slowing if we continue to watch that. That will help us understand, which direction we're headed. If it goes down, that means we're headed more. The buyers are buying more properties and consuming more. If it goes up, then typically there's a little stagnation happening. But in addition to all of the market movement, 97.16 was the list price to sale price retention, which basically meant that the sellers are still giving up almost 3%, 2.8%. Off of the list prices to whatever the accepted offer price was. This is MLS wide, everybody. So this is not just like on that last deal that was done. This is the MLS. So when you're going in and say you didn't need any concessions, you should be expecting almost a 3% negotiation off the list price. On the other hand, if you needed concession money, maybe you pay a little more to get your buyer more money. That's up to your client, but that's what this number means here is what's the average.
All right, so let me ask you a question. Yeah. I mean, when you take a look at the numbers for the changes in new listings and pending, that's pretty significant.
It is.
Now, is this, in your opinion, an anomaly? Or does it have something to do with the holiday, or is this indicative of something that you're maybe seeing on the horizon?
Easy answer is yes, because all those things play. But and that's why we try to talk about the trend. Everything's seasonal. So in the spring, we always talk about, more buyers in the marketplace. That's indicative. So just because there's more doesn't mean there's going to be a big change. It's kind of seasonal. And there is a stigmatization. So that was a good call, Mike. There is a stigmatization the moment you hit Memorial Day, because from Memorial Day through probably July 4th anyway, most of the executives and the people in the world are taking their vacations with their kids being out of school. So as a result, the market is usually
so the four of us
slower.
are here, so we're apparently not executive material enough.
Yeah, I don't see my kids until Christmas time.
All right, well, I'm gonna get Todd one of those two-way reversible T-shirts. One that says we're in a buyer's market, one we're in a seller's market. And depending on the number, you'll show up wearing that on your chest.
I'd actually wear that out. All right, everybody.